This original WSRE presentation is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Ramika Vincent Leary and welcome to this edition of In Studio. It is a stark reality. Many youngsters who live right here in the state of Florida are struggling at home, trying to make the best of tough situations. Who will hear their voices? Will anyone fight on their behalf? Tonight we'll tell you all about a life-changing program that represents thousands of children with the help of dedicated volunteers. It's called Guardian Ad Litem, and we'll explore it extensively right after this. Welcome back, everyone. The Florida Guardian Ad Litem program is dedicated to impacting young lives for the better. Volunteers play a huge role in that respect, but there's still much work to be done. In this first segment, I'm happy to introduce Joan Irby, Recruitment Coordinator for the Florida Guardian Ad Litem program. Joining her is Brian Carter, Circuit Director. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ramika.
Now, Brian, for the sake of our viewers, please give us a specific definition of Guardian Ad Litem.
Absolutely. And first of all, Ramika, thank you so much for having us and for giving us the opportunity to tell your viewers about the program.
We are so happy to have you.
Thank
we really
you so
are.
much. The Guardian Ad Litem program is a pretty simple concept, but it makes a big difference for children. Now, we're a powerful and effective voice advocating for abused and neglected children in the court system. Now, we're a partnership of staff and community partners coming together because we want to make a difference for children. We want to make sure that they have a brighter tomorrow. The way we make that work is we have staff members, select number of staff members who work with a large number of volunteers. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about a milestone we've had this year as well. We actually have surpassed our goal of 10,000 volunteers in the state of Florida, and I'll tell you a little bit about that here in just a few minutes. But to give you just a better definition of what a guardian does, we work together in the court system to give reports and recommendations on the best interest of children to help them see a brighter tomorrow. So children who have come into the court system by no fault of their own have someone to really count on, someone to depend on, someone who's a mentor and an advocate.
And that is so important. So Joan, what are the qualifications for becoming a Guardian Ad Litem?
Well, what we look for, you need to be at least 21 to work with the children. We do accept some college students that come in to work with a mentor. They will have a mentor until they turn 21. You have to have a clean level 2 background, so we make sure that those screenings are done. We ask for a year commitment, and just that the people have a heart for children. We're just looking for people that want to give that child a voice and want to advocate for that child.
Some people might ask, what level of education, if any, is required?
Well, we're not really looking so much for that because what we do through our training is we train them on the information that they'll need to be able to advocate for those children. And we're also partnering them with an attorney and a social worker so that they don't really have to have any expertise in any area. It's really just being that third party looking out for that child's best interest.
Brian, back to you. What is your motto for Guardian Ad Litem?
It's a pretty simple motto. It's actually our mission statement as well. Anytime we go out and talk about the program, the first thing people ask us is, much like Joan was talking about, what do I need to do? How can I help? Well, our mission statement is simple. It's 5 words. I am for the child. But those 5 words mean so much to a child because we help them see a better life, free of abuse and neglect. So the reason we're so successful in our mission is because we have folks that come together to truly build a relationship with children and to advocate on their behalf and for their best interest.
Joan, you mentioned a screening process, and I know that you really have to be careful in that selection process. Can you elaborate just a little further on that?
Yeah, what we do is what I do as the recruiter, go out, events like being able to be on TV or the Greek festivals coming up, things like that, and we actually get to talk to people about the program and give them that initial information about it. Then after we bring them in to meet with one of the case coordinators, let them kind of get a feel for why they're doing what their motivations are, send them over to get that background screening, which is the fingerprints through the Sheriff's Department, just to make sure that, everything's good with that and that they're doing it for the right reasons.
So the preliminary process can take how long?
Well, we like to tell people that it'll take like 30 to 45
Okay.
days to get through the process. It's not something you're going to sign up today and then start advocating tomorrow for a child.
All right, so as you mentioned, Brian, we really need dedicated people who care.
We do.
Let's talk about some of the statistics, both nationally and locally.
Yeah, Ramika, here's kind of the bad news. I wish I could say that child abuse didn't exist, but it does. And so the way we can make a difference for us and for our children is to step in and to be a voice for every child. So we're working hard to do that. So the stats from a national level, here's the disappointing thing. Annually, over 600,000 children pass through the foster care system and the family court system. Now that's pretty extreme, a lot of kids.
It really is.
The other disappointing part of that is on average, each child spends about 2 years, just under 2 years in foster care, the children who are placed in foster care. So that's something that we try to impact as well. And for each of those children who are in foster care, many of them experience at least 3 changes in their home, in their foster care placement. So a lot of times when I talk about the program, a lot of folks take it from a national level and start
Right.
talking what's happening here at home. So in the state of Florida, there are over 31,000 children under court supervision for allegations of abuse, neglect, or abandonment. In a local level,
Okay.
our First Circuit is comprised of 4 counties: Escambia, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, and Walton counties. In those 4 counties, we have just under 1,700 children under court supervision. Now, we're headed the right direction. I mentioned earlier that our program has surpassed our goal of 10,000 volunteers throughout the state. We're working very hard on that locally too, because even though we've got a lot of volunteers in our program, there are a lot more children. Clearly, we have 31,000 children throughout the state under court supervision.
Wow.
Here locally, we have just under 1,700. Now, our program is currently only appointed to about 83% of those children. Statutorily, we want to get to the point, statutorily we're required, and we want to get to the point where we have a voice. You'll
voice.
constantly hear us say that, a voice for every child. Because there should never be an opportunity where we walk into court and a child is there without someone to speak up for him or her. That makes the difference.
It does. Speaking of that voice, we would like to introduce you to Zoe. Now, throughout the entire broadcast, we will be sharing her story. We would like to thank the makers of the movie Removed for allowing us to use this footage. This clip that we're about to show you is Zoe going to school as she takes her school portraits.
My past defines me. This is who I am. I am unseen, unheard, unwanted. That is what I am, if even I am anything.
What a riveting clip, Joan. Some of the family circumstances that these youngsters go through, would you tell us about those?
Yeah, and the reason that we started using the Removed video, it gives the best picture of what our children live through with Zoe's life and what she's going through. And just that one clip there with her going to take a picture after she had been abused at home, and just trying to get through the day. A lot of these children out here, it's hard for us to realize, and when I go and do speaking engagements, I have to tell people, this isn't always fun, but you're going to have to come out of your glass house and you're going to have to look. And the really interesting thing is, though, the first case that I ever got as a volunteer, I've been volunteering for 7 years, the first one I got was 2 streets behind me in Holly by the Sea. So
Okay.
it wasn't anywhere that I thought I would
No.
be going. It was in my neighborhood. So that's one thing, even at that level, to get out of that you think you know who these children are. You don't always know who they are. They could be your neighbors.
Brian, let's talk about trust. The introduction, right? Once we meet these children, we need to be that constant force.
You're right. I remember the first child I ever visited, and you mentioned trust. That is such a huge thing. It's something that we take for granted. But when we visit with these children, when we meet these children, we very quickly learn that trust is a foreign concept to many of them. Or if they have an understanding, it's that they know not to trust anyone. So it's sometimes a barrier for our program, but it's also something that our volunteers work on with these children. And building relationships is a consistent theme for both our staff and our volunteers in working with these children.
Joan, do you have an example of a trust issue, generically speaking, regarding a child?
There's a few of them. I've been volunteering for 7 years, and I think we had done up the number last year. I think I've advocated for about 28 kids. And there was a really interesting one that I had from high school. I wanted younger kids because I had high school aged, and I had to meet her at the high school because she was what we considered a couch surfer, so didn't have a place to live. You know, she was just kind of couch surfing. This was at Navarre High School, so a local school here. Met her at the counselor's office, and she was trying to fill out a FAFSA. Didn't have any parent information.
Financial aid. She
trying to
needs
get
that.
some financial aid. Very smart young lady. And the really sad thing was when I went into the counselor's office, I knew the girl and had no idea what she was living in and what she was doing. So it kind of helped that I had already known her. She did have some trust with me, but it really took, her whole thing was, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I don't want to get told on, but it really helped her life. It really changed her life. And she ended up going to graduate school, and she's a teacher now. So she has a great story.
Her.
Yeah.
Brian, do you partner with any other organizations?
Well, we actually do. We actually have a nonprofit organization that supports the efforts of the Guardian Ad Litem program in the First Circuit. The Northwest Florida Guardian Ad Litem Foundation is our nonprofit board, and it's comprised of a lot of volunteers and community partners who work very hard to increase awareness about the program and also to financially support the needs of the program, and specifically in support of the children and normalcy for children.
That is so good. So Joan, all these years, 7 years that you have been a volunteer, is there one case that just stands out in your mind, generically speaking?
No, not really, because they're all really special. Of course, the one that ended up graduating from college, that was pretty special.
Getting her graduate degree.
Yeah, that was really special to me, and I've seen her a couple of times, out in the community. One thing that really, as far as touched me, probably about 6 months ago, we're actually in the courthouse, the Juvenile Justice Courthouse here in Escambia County, and a little boy came in that was meeting a sibling, had been removed for the first time, and he had not seen his sibling, and he was there to meet the person that was going to take him. So he was sitting there. I came in and talked to him for a few minutes, and his whole thing was he wanted to see my telephone because he wanted to call his mom to tell her where he was. And that was really hard. That was a really hard moment for me. But it was like I went and got him a popsicle, and I said, you know what, buddy? We're going to get through this. We're going to color. We're
together.
That's right. Just to take that time and just invest some interest in that child was huge to him.
All right, we have much more coming up. All right, folks, as we head to break, we want to remind everyone that the Florida Guardian Ad Litem program needs you. Now is the time to take that first step toward becoming a volunteer child advocate. You'll definitely have support from others along the way. To start the process, you can visit guardianadlitem.org or call the following number, 850-595-3728. That's 850-595-3728. We'll be back right after this.
American Graduate is proud to recognize a champion for education.
Autism Pensacola is a support group for those living with autism, and we seek to improve life for those living with autism.
They have given us an opportunity to be part of our son's education, to be part of his playtime. They care about inclusion and acceptance.
And our goal, of course, is to increase children's independence and help them be successful in school. We want teachers who are equipped to meet the needs of children with autism in the schools. WSRE has been a great partner with Autism Pensacola, providing us with PBS resources and helping us further our mission. We know that working together as a community, we can improve life for all of those living with autism and have great outcomes.
we get to see these kids make such great gains in communication and in social skills. So it's so important for families of autism to have this wealth of information as well as support.
And it's so meaningful when a parent comes to you and says, this is just what I needed for my son. It's made such a difference in my child's life. The more we do for them as children, the more positive their outcomes will be as adults.
Autism Pensacola, helping children and families connect the pieces. For more stories of champions, visit americangraduate.org.
Hello everyone. During this segment, I'd like to welcome back Joan Irby, Recruitment Coordinator for the Florida Guardian Ad Litem Program. Plus we have Kate Hockmuth, Senior Program Attorney. Now Kate, I know one of the first things you want to do is dispel any ideas about volunteers having to be attorneys. So please elaborate. The floor is yours.
Sure. You do not have to be an attorney to be a volunteer. One of the first things that we do with our new volunteers is we do a 4-hour legal training. What the purpose of that is to explain the entire dependency process to them, whatever their responsibilities are as a volunteer, and we essentially explain to them their role in terms of being essentially a team player with the attorney on the case and the child advocate manager as well.
Let's say someone had maybe a dust up in the past legally, maybe they had a record expunged. Could someone like that be a volunteer?
That would be something that we would expect the background check to take care of. So all the volunteers that will be going through legal training have already been cleared.
Okay, that's good. Now, we think about other things associated with volunteers and the legal training, the work that you do in the court. Let's talk a little bit about what you do.
Okay. Well, I need to be present at every single hearing that I have on my cases. So that's everything from the very first hearing when the case is assigned to me until the very last hearing when the case is closed. Our cases go into court in the beginning a little more frequently, and then about every 6 months thereafter. And it's pretty much just kind of a juggling act with, 60 to 75 cases.
Joan, during the training process, do you ever have people cringe and say, oh goodness, court, what do I do? So how do you help them in that respect?
Yeah, I think everybody's intimidated with court. I don't know if attorneys feel that, but just about everybody else, going to traffic court's like a big deal. So for anybody that's kind of intimidating, we do part of that in their training. They do sit through 2 hours of court observation and then have a time with their case coordinator or their attorney, to ask questions about that. It's really, there's a lot of players in court, and so when somebody goes in there, that can just be overwhelming, how many different parties there are and who's what and where are they and how do they play into the family.
So have you ever heard any stories from people after that initial observation? Maybe it was a turning point in their lives for some of the volunteers.
I think it really is for anybody that goes in there, and that's one thing when people will come to me and say, we don't really have this problem here. I'm like, well, let's have you sign a disclosure and we're going to let you come in here and sit, because it is an all-day occurrence of people coming in different phases, of dependency.
Kate, and I know people sometimes watch a lot of television. This is reality, right? So we need to take this seriously.
Absolutely. Sometimes you'll see drama in dependency court, something that you probably aren't going to see in most other court systems. It's essentially family law. It's very emotional. But we have, of course, professional staff. All of the other attorneys who represent the other parties are all professional. So it gets emotional, but it's under control.
So the volunteer in court, could that volunteer maybe hold that child's hand from time to time? let's say if they're near the child, maybe the child is a little scared. I know that you've seen emotion a lot.
Yes, it depends essentially where the volunteer wants to sit. You could sit next to your attorney at the table during the proceeding, or if you would prefer to sit back with the child, you can certainly do that as well. I know it definitely makes a lot of the kids feel more comfortable to have someone who they're familiar with them in court.
Team players, both of you. So let's talk about the team approach, starting with you, Jim.
Yeah, and we do. We started from the very beginning. My job is the initial meeting of a potential volunteer. So once I get them and have talked to them, then I'm going to introduce them to the case manager, who will be more of the social worker side of it. Keep them abreast of when different things are happening with the children, the people they need to contact about the children, and then with the attorney. So it really does help them when we do get a new volunteer. They actually get a mentor also, somebody that's been established, as a volunteer. So it really is, because it can be intimidating. I mean, the whole process, when you think about this being a court process, can be intimidating.
Your role also as an attorney and then helping that child feel safe and secure. I know there's a lot of work that goes into that, right, Kate?
Yes, absolutely. There are certain cases, especially when I'm dealing with a teenager, where I'm able to develop more of a rapport with them. I can prepare them a little more for what's going to happen in court, answer any questions that they have, both beforehand and afterwards. And they certainly do take advantage of being able to ask me those questions and to better explain to them what's going on.
All right, folks, we're going to take another look at Zoe's story. Zoe's actually going to meet her foster mother for the first time. Take a look.
Hi, Zoe. It's so good to have you here. Are you ready to come in?
I know I am helpless, dependent, desperate. But what happens when those who need the most threaten your very existence? I've heard plenty of promises, and they all sound the same. But push hard enough, and sooner or later, they all prove to be empty. The sun comes up every morning, but do you know where? Each place, it's somewhere different. It's hard to find east when you keep moving around. But at least it comes. It always comes. I've come to depend on that.
Foster care, Joan. Let's talk about that.
Well, the first thing about foster care in this area, we need more foster parents. And even though I'm with the Guardian Ad Litem program, if somebody can adopt, we have plenty of children that need adopted. If they can foster, we are in desperate need of foster families. It's a shame when we have to send some of our kids to other areas after they've already been removed and have to send them over to Tallahassee or something because we don't have a placement here. So yeah, foster care, it's very needed in this area, and we need lots more families.
Kate, back to you. Let's talk about the quick path of the case. I know there are several steps, so we'll just let you start off.
Sure.
Tell us about that.
So essentially the way a case comes into dependency is an abuse report is called into the abuse hotline. That call is received. If it appears it meets certain criteria, DCF will send out an investigator. The investigator will speak to possibly who reported it, any collaterals, the child, the parents, whoever's available at the time. And they'll make a judgment call. It's kind of an emergency, so they basically make a judgment call on the spot as to whether they feel there's enough of a danger the child needs to be removed from the home. So then after that, within 24 hours, that has to go into court for the judge to approve that the removal was done correctly and meets the legal standard. And then from that point on, that's when our cases will get assigned to the Guardian Ad Litem program. I'll be assigned to the case along with a child advocate manager and a volunteer. And then from that point on, we'll go into court for the first hearing, which is an arraignment. A parent will enter a plea. After that hearing, we have what's called a disposition hearing, which is where the court will formally adjudicate the child dependent, which essentially means that the court now officially has jurisdiction over the child. The parties say over where the child lives, the type of visitation that can occur, all of those details. The court also will accept what's called a case plan, and the case plan has various social services in it that are designed to help the parents essentially remedy the reasons for removal to begin with.
So when you saw Zoe's clip, that last one, readying the foster parents, PrEP. I know they have to really be in that mindset, right?
Yes, they do, and that's something that the caseworker who works for DCF will essentially prepare the foster parent for the child coming into the home, the circumstances surrounding what's going on, and there is some PrEP, of course, with the child as well, because they may not know where they're going.
That's true. Now, Joan, we know that every situation is not always perfect. What happens when that foster situation maybe doesn't work out?
Well, and that's what we try to avoid. One of the big things in dependency is to keep children in placements. So disruptive placements isn't good for the children for sure, but it kind of messes up the whole system with numbers as far as how many kids, a family can keep. And the thing is, in Escambia County, I think we work really hard to keep families together, keep children together.
That is
so
good.
that the siblings aren't, sent into different homes. So it's very important.
Kate, let's talk about accountability, right? So as an attorney, there are many things that you know that you have to do. But when it comes to these foster parents and dealing with these children, there are right things and wrong things, right? So do you have any examples of the wrong thing that a foster parent might do in this situation?
Well, one issue that can sometimes arise is any discussion with the child about what's going on in the case or what's going on with the parents. Children can become confused by the way something is said, even if it's said with the best of intentions. So that's something that if a foster parent has questions about how to address something maybe the child brings up, they can talk to either the guardian ad litem or they can talk to the caseworker for DCF to figure out how best to address it.
Joan, let's say there's a little girl who has nightmares at night, and maybe the foster mother doesn't know how to handle that. I'm sure there are other scenarios as well, but how would you handle that?
All of those things would be handled through like Families First with therapy. I mean, these children have a lot of resources at their access. So whenever things like that come up, and they might tell the guardian for the first time. That might be the person that gets that initial, information, and then they would go to the case coordinator on that case and say, what can we get for this child? Is there some therapy or maybe some counseling that they might need? Because you've got to remember that just removing the children is very traumatic. So there's a lot of issues, that these children might come up. It shows that in part of the clip later with Zoe, some things that she does.
Right. Kate, have you ever had any children that were just so fearful they did not want to go anywhere? We know that they'll eventually be put somewhere, but how do you deal with that?
Well, I could think of one child in particular. He basically wanted to remain in a group home in foster care and was adamant he didn't want to go back to mom or dad. He didn't want to be with any family members at all. And that's something that I've spoken to him about, the need essentially through therapy to try to work on some relationships with some family if you're able to, because the goal is to try to reunify, and if you can't, hopefully you can at least remain with some family.
That's good. And we know in Zoe's story, Zoe has a little brother, but we're highlighting her, but there are many scenarios like that, I'm sure, in the Pensacola and surrounding areas. Is there any situation like that that stands out in your mind here locally?
Just as far as with kids staying together, and it's really obvious, and that's why I like Remove so much. It shows that relationship where she really is the caretaker. We have lots of children in this area that are not only the caretaker for their siblings, but for their moms maybe or their parents.
They step up.
Oh yeah, they do. They do.
In miraculous ways.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you all so much for joining us this segment. It has definitely been a pleasure. Now, folks, as we head to break, we want you to remember Guardian Ad Litem volunteers come from all facets of life. Take a look at what some of these men and women are doing to lend a helping hand right here in the Sunshine State.
Somebody. I am for her.
The child who one day will turn 18 and will be surrendered to the world.
I am for that child.
So I am there for that child.
To listen to her.
To speak for her.
To champion without compromise for what's in his best interest.
Because if I am
there for her, I know she will be half as likely to languish in foster care.
And that much more likely to find a safe, permanent home. She is the child I am for.
He is the child I am for.
They are the children I am for.
She is the child I am for.
The child I am for is him.
Who am I?
Who am I?
Who am I?
I am a volunteer child advocate.
I am you.
During the break, we showed you some of the Guardian Ad Litem volunteers and their dedication to the children they assist. In this segment, we're happy to welcome back Joan Irby, Recruitment Coordinator. Plus, we're excited to introduce Larry Clark, a volunteer who's going to share his personal experiences with you, including how they have impacted his life. Welcome, Larry.
Good to be with you.
I know we had a chance to talk a few moments ago. First of all, how long have you been a volunteer?
In my 5th year.
In your 5th year, did anyone or anything inspire you to do this in particular?
Well, actually, it was kind of an accident. Our church wanted to be more active in the community, so they went out and looked at organizations that had some biblical principles that we could identify with and invited them in because church activities sometimes are not well received by the unchurched.
All right.
So a group came, and Joan was in the group that came and made a presentation about Guardian Ad Litem, and my wife and I, the minute she started talking about what these kids' lives were like, we said, well, you know, we were raised in good homes. Our mother and father were both with us all the way into adulthood. And here kids who didn't have some of these opportunities, we thought this was a program for us. So we immediately got involved. And it's been contagious.
Contagious. I love that word. You're contagious. So, Joan, back to you. When you first met Larry, you probably had a few goosebumps. Am I right?
It's, you know, it is always inspiring to me when somebody gets it. And that really is what it is because, you know, you hear these stories all the time, maybe not as close as we do once we get in the program, but you can read them in the newspaper every day. And for somebody to get it like Larry and Carol did was really just great. I mean, that's what we look for as recruitment coordinators.
Did you train him personally?
No, I actually don't do the training. We actually have a trainer.
Okay. So
we have a trainer.
You have a trainer. So back to you, Larry. Your first experience, give us the rundown. Just paint a picture for us, if you will.
Well, my first case was, I didn't get in quite as early as I would like to have. The child was taken away from the parents. He was preschool. He was in a foster care home where 6 other children were. So when I went to visit him, I didn't just visit one child.
Okay.
I visited 6 children.
Several.
Yes. And became attached to all of them, but really became attached to him. And it became apparent to me pretty quickly that the parents were not going to do what was necessary to have reunification, but we still have to go through that process, and we did. But the grandparents decided that they wanted to adopt the child. And so working with them and working with him, and that took place, well, just to let you know, even though he's been adopted now about 3 years, I still see him frequently. And the last time I saw him, his cousin was visiting the house, and when I got out of the car, he ran out and gave me a hug. And I said, "Who's this you got with you?" And he said, "This is my cousin, Susie." And he looked at Susie, he said, "You might as well give him a hug. He's not going to leave till you do."
That's a good feeling, isn't it, Joan?
It is.
We talk about accountability. That is key. So with the volunteers, you come around one time and need to establish that line of communication. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, and what we aim to do as an organization is build that relationship, be that safe person for that child. You know, they have a lot of changes going on in their life, and just like the little boy I told you about earlier, you know, you might not see anybody today that you saw 2 weeks ago in your life. So when that volunteer is consistently coming month after month, investing in that child and saying, "I'll be back next month, buddy," and you really do that, that's huge for these kids. So yeah, it really is, and we've got some great volunteers in the First Circuit.
Personal impact with your life, Larry. You are such a great guy. And have you ever had a situation where a child was a little standoffish in the beginning, had a thick skin, as some would say? Share that story generically.
I got a call from the guardian ad litem office one day, and the guardian ad litem that I work through that's on the staff, she said, "I've got an unusual case. It won't take very long, but you're going to have to dedicate a lot of time to it." The parents had gotten in touch with DCF and asked that this child be taken away because he was so violent. And the child had been taken away. I went and read the medical records and very quickly established that this child had an area defense problem. And of course, I like to hug and shake. So I went and met with his mother. He was in a separate home, and they were going to start letting him come home one day at a time. And so I was there the day he arrived, and of course I got out of my car with my badge on and everything, and you could see in his eyes he was a teenager. Another guy from the government coming to help me.
Another suit.
Yeah. So we went in the house, and I spent about almost 3 hours with him. And I told him out in front of the house, I said, normally I like to give my clients a hug, but in reading your record I think you probably wouldn't like it, but will you shake my hand? I didn't move to him, he moved to me, and we shook hands. So after about an hour with him, his mother finally came into the room and started participating in the conversation. When we finished, I got up to go to leave, and I went over and opened the door. And he said to me, "I thought you said you like to hug your clients before you left." And his mother started crying.
Oh, wow.
When he gave me a hug, I cried as well. I had a great relationship with him, and of course they're all reunified, and he's doing well now. But a tragic case from the start, really tragic.
And how much time did you spend with him?
I saw him weekly, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. He was in a special school, so I would go to the school to observe. And at the school he was at, they had what they called a quiet room when the children were having trouble. They could either send them there or the children could get up and go. And if he was ever in the quiet room, I always went with him to talk to him to try to find out what's the trigger, what caused this to happen. If we can identify those triggers and then try to help the teacher and the family understand what those triggers are, maybe we can stop that behavior.
Joan, triggers, and thank you for mentioning that. We all have different personalities, don't we? Mm-hmm. And so trained volunteers do have to take that into consideration. So are there any specific examples, success stories, maybe one that you can remember personally from a volunteer?
I don't know that I can remember any. I know that it's really important, and the really good thing with what Larry and Carol have done is they go to all the different trainings that we have. Because just as a normal, if you've been raised, you know, pretty well, or what you consider normal, you know, and then you have kids and everything seems pretty normal. You know, sometimes it's hard for you to know stuff like that. So we offer a lot of training to kind of get you out of what you think, and, you know, a lot about diversity, about, you know, I always give the example of cleanliness, because you can eat off my mom's floor, please don't eat off my floors, but they're mopped. I mean, you know, so it's really relative. So I think that kind of training has really helped. And Larry's just a great example of going through those different trainings, and he goes to all of them just about that we have, just so he gets more educated.
Larry, success stories, children turning their lives around, this young man did. Can you think of another?
Yeah, one of the things I think is very important for guardian ad litems to think about is it's about the child, but remember the environment has got foster parents or maybe grandparents, school teachers. So I have one that's in school now. So the teacher probably spends as much time with that child when he's awake as anybody else does. Fortunately, when this child was adopted, I was able to go to the school before he went there, and in working with the counselor, helped get the teacher that he would have selected, and was able to go in and pre-brief her so that when he walked in the classroom, she knew exactly what she was getting. And that relationship's been wonderful. They live up in Navarre. She calls me every Friday night and gives me a debrief on how you did in school that week. And then I work with the parents and saying, you know, what do we need? For example, that we think it's time maybe that his medication be reevaluated. Okay. So we've set up an appointment for him to go see the doctor to get his medication to be reevaluated.
Do any of the children ever meet other children in the program or have?
Well, what we do, once a quarter, we try to do some kind of event where our volunteers that are transportation certified can go. We're having a dolphin cruise coming up in October. Chasing Fins here locally has donated. They have
wonderful.
Donated a cruise for our volunteers to take kids. And last year, I mean, when they were coming in, there's like 40 kids on this boat. You know, we live in Florida. They've never been on a boat. It's just a great opportunity. And the squeals, we can't show their pictures, but we have video of them all squealing.
Many examples.
Yes.
Speaking of things that people in the community can do, let's say going on a boat ride, letting you use a boat, for example. Do you ever have any businesses that donate services or time in that respect?
We're always looking for stuff like that, not only for our children, but for our volunteers to make them feel special, because as a state agency, we don't have money for that. We have money for buildings and staff, but that extra stuff. So we do a volunteer appreciation once a year where they come in and, you know, we feed them and recognize them, give them a little certificate.
That's always such positive
and we have
reinforcement.
community people that will give away, you know, massages and facials and haircuts. So, you know, just to kind of make them feel special. So we love our community partners.
Larry, have you ever received a personal letter, a note, aside from a hug, let's just say, word of encouragement from someone that you have helped?
One of the teenager's mother sent me a nice note in her Christmas card and said, you had a big impact on him, but what I really want you to understand is you had a big impact on me. Quick story, he had an older sister who was absolutely furious with him because of the way he treated his mother. Well, he was ADHD, he was autistic, and he had explosive behavior. So when I went for my first visit, she finally came in to introduce herself to me, and I had known about this in advance, and I said, have you ever considered doing some volunteer work in autism? So she went to the Autistic Center and volunteered, and guess what? Her best friend now is her brother, because now she understands why he treated his mother the way he did.
What an amazing story. Speaking of another story, let's go back to Zoe. Little Zoe now is heading to court. Let's take a look at how she responds to that situation.
Once upon a time, there was a girl who was being torn apart.
Do we have a consul here today?
No, Your Honor.
Maybe you never thought your path would cross these valleys or be led up these mountains.
Miss Locke, you have made considerable efforts. However, what you have
But no one can break the inside of me.
Zoe cannot continue to wait.
And no one can tell me who I will be.
She needs a permanent, safe, and loving home. I find that this is in Zoe's best interest. So today,
And the question looms. And you have the choice. Where to go next.
Now that you've heard from a compassionate volunteer, you can take that first step toward becoming a volunteer child advocate. You'll definitely have support from others along the way. All you have to do is visit the website, guardianadlitem.org, or call the following number right there on your screen, which is 850-595-3728. That's 850-595-3728. We'll be back after this.
Unlock your newest member benefit. Over 1,000 episodes of your favorite PBS shows. American Masters, Antiques Roadshow, Nature, Nova, Masterpiece. Watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere. Become a member. Sign in. and start streaming today.
Hello everyone, we're glad to have recruitment coordinator Joan Irby back for this segment, including Brian Carter, circuit director. Now we'll take a final look at Zoe's story from the film Removed and find out where she is today.
We are stars. Born of fire, wind, born into the chaos. And the winds whip around us. And no one stays with us.
Eduardo, can you stay a second so I can talk to you?
Everything we know was taken away.
I know it can be hard when you're living in a home that's not your own. Hard to concentrate and stuff.
But one day,
you don't have to draw. Just remember that you get to decide who you want to be, okay? No one else can do that.
Brian, what a remarkable story. What comes to your mind after having seen that?
Well, one of the things that we see is what children go through. Now, something that we see on a daily basis is how much volunteer child advocates impact that story and how they change lives.
We know that the transition in Zoe's life, a lot of roller coaster rides, so to speak, a lot of bumps there, but a happy ending.
Absolutely.
And talk about some of the happy endings here locally.
Well, here locally, I mean, there's numerous stories where volunteers and staff have such an impact on these children. And that's one thing that I appeal to the public to find out, you know, when you see these stories in the news every day, we turn on the news, we hear stories of abuse, neglect, and we often wonder as a society, what can we do? Well, this is truly an opportunity where we can come together. It's a partnership where we can have an impact on children forever. The volunteers and staff do exactly that.
Joan, we hear people saying a lot, gee, I have a few hours during the week. What can I do? I'm watching television. If you're out there watching television right now and you don't know what you can do, what should they do, Joan?
They need to volunteer with Guardian Ad Litem. It's really a great opportunity. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. Like I said before, adoption, fostering, you know, that takes a lot of time. Ours is about just investing in one child and then looking out for that child's best interest. We have teachers that will volunteer and they use their skills to work with kids that might have an IEP or an ESE, or maybe we have a nurse volunteer that will work with some children that might have some medical issues. So you can already take some expertise you might have in life and come use it for a child.
Brian, let's say we have a mom and dad who are volunteers, and then little Janie, the girl, says, what can I do? Is there anything she can do?
There is. In fact, Joan was very helpful on this. We've actually had members throughout the community help out, and in fact, we had a local Girl Scout troop who did exactly that. Because often children are watching. Many times they're watching, and if their parents are showing a great example of how we can change another life, they want to do the same thing. So this Girl Scout troop helped out and created a sort of Shining Start Closet is what they call it. And it's to help children who age out of the system. So there are lots of opportunities where parents can help their children learn a better way, to help other children live a better life. So we encourage parents to constantly tell their children what they're doing, how they're helping other children, and to encourage them to find a way to help out as well.
Joan, have you ever had children in a foster family with that incoming child that have really made an impacting difference positively on that child in the Guardian Ad Litem program?
As far as you're talking about in foster care,
Yes.
children that are in foster care? Well, the thing is, like Larry said, with when you visit a child, and sometimes they have multiple children from different, they're not even from the same family, but they're in the same foster home. When you get in there, you get to know all the kids that are in that family, and you're just making a difference and advocating for the one, but you're making a difference for all of them by visiting them.
Let's say, Brian, someone says, I might not have a lot of time. Monetary donations, do sometimes you receive those in your office in addition to that volunteer help?
That's actually a great question. We're a state agency, so we don't actually collect money within our program, but that's why we have the nonprofit board that supports our program. The Northwest Florida Guardian Ad Litem Foundation supports a lot of normalcy needs for our children. So let's say, for example, a family wants to donate some money. They're able to go through our board, donate that money, and the board will use it for whatever the children's needs may be. And that supports both the program, advocating for the children, but also provides normalcy for these children.
Speaking of normalcy and being that special voice, you all are voices, but let's talk about the voice of the volunteer. And I know the selection process, there are a lot of things that these volunteers need to go through before they can actually do this. Give us some examples of some of the positive things they have said that have resonated so well.
The volunteers on a daily basis, you can talk to any of them that come into the office, and that's the thing with us having the court process. They come into the office a lot, so we see the volunteers a lot when they come into the trainings and the different things. But you can always hear them say, it's making a bigger difference in my life than I'm making for the child, which, you're making a great difference in the child's life, but it really impacts each volunteer so much by giving towards that child. And the really unique thing, and what Brian was kind of saying about with the board, is when people do donate money to that board, they're not having to pay for the logistics of us, the staff, the building, the electricity. So that is going for those kids in need. And it could be a pair of glasses. Medicaid will give you one pair of glasses a year. If you're 7 years old and been in 3 foster families, you might have lost a pair of glasses. So, things like that, anything that child would need to make them, feel more normal as far as the state sees that.
And Ramika, just to add on to that, if I might, these volunteers become members of our family. As you can tell after meeting Larry Clark, he's an amazing individual. And I tell you what, he is a member of our family. They make such a tremendous difference on these children's lives, in these children's lives, and they make a big difference for us as well.
Have you ever had any volunteers that have, maybe when they were younger, they were a child that went through the system?
We actually had, and last year we did an Angels in Our Midst with one of our volunteers that had come through the system, and she actually talked about that, how she had been in the foster care system, had a guardian ad litem, and then she actually went and started training and became an advocate for children like her.
Yeah.
Brian, can you recall any specific stories to that nature?
That one is very powerful to me because the young lady came back years after having a volunteer have an impact in her life. And she knew these years later, she remembered that the reason she got to where she was today, and many of us think in those terms, who had an impact on us? She thought exactly that because someone took a chance and took the time for her. She wanted to come back and do the same thing. So that's a very powerful message.
Someone thought enough about them. Every single person makes a difference. Just thought about something. Administrative support. Let's say a volunteer in that aspect, somebody wanting to come in and help. Have you ever had volunteers like that?
We've had people do that, scan files. We've had, filing, making copies, doing things like that. Yeah, we have a lot of needs, so we can use just about anybody with whatever they can do.
When we say it's a family, we mean that, and sometimes people feel a little uncomfortable working out and about in the field, but they have skills, they have interests, and we all bring something to the table.
So as mentors, volunteers, do you see a lot of volunteers maybe mentoring each other
And
throughout
we
the
actually
process?
have that process. We actually have it when they finish training, they actually get a mentor. So we're actually doing a mentor training, I think, this week.
That's correct.
In our office so that we can get some new mentors. We have, volunteers every month coming in to the system, so we need to make sure that they all have a mentor.
Brian, encouraging words for our viewers. Hey, if they're on the fence about becoming a volunteer, tell them what they should do.
I'll tell you a couple of things very quickly. We talked earlier a little bit about the problem. The solution is, of course, us coming together. The results is this. Children who have a volunteer child advocate do much better in school, are 50% less likely to return to foster care, have fewer placements overall. They actually receive a lot more services, and they spend much less time in foster care. So our volunteers make a tremendous difference for these children. More than that, they know that someone cares for them. So what I would beg your viewers to do is call us. Come by, find out about us. We'll tell you everything that we do, and we'll tell you how you can make a difference. So, when I was talking earlier about how we think about how someone had an impact in our life, way back, whoever it may have been, a mom, dad, school teacher, one day these children are going to think back to who made a difference in their life and who impacted their future. And it may have been a guardian ad litem volunteer, and I hope your viewers are some of those.
Joan, have you had many Zoes come back and speak to the organization and inspire volunteers?
We've had a couple, and Shannon did that. The one that was the Angels in the Midst did that. Just on the whole city level as far as doing that with Angels in Our Midst. But yeah, that's one thing. Even the one that I have that is now. Well, didn't mean to touch that. The one that I have that has now graduated from college, and I still talk to her, occasionally, just to keep that encouragement of her. We all need encouragement, and we need families forever. So it doesn't end when you become an adult.
So Brian, a little boy in court, you're holding his hand, you're that volunteer, and he's afraid. Mm-hmm. For our viewers out there who are contemplating becoming a volunteer, what could they do to help this young man?
Well, first and foremost, they need to think about things from his perspective, because that changes your whole viewpoint. When you think about what that child's experiencing, you think about the need. You think about why he needs someone beside him, holding his hand. Why we need someone to be his voice and the voice for many other children just like him. So I encourage everyone to visit our website, guardianadlitem.org, or call us. Our local office in Pensacola is 850-595-3728. Please call us. Please find out about our program, and we'll tell you a lot more about how you can make a difference.
Excellent. Absolutely. Thank you all so very much. Now, again, I want to thank all of our guests for joining us this evening. Plus, we want to give special thanks to the makers of the movie Removed for allowing us to use clips from their film, which chronicled Zoe's story. Coming up next time on In Studio, Jeff Weeks will take a close look at the history of presidential politics while exploring our current political season with historians and experts. I'm Ramika Vincent Leary. Have a good evening. Keep it locked in right here on WSRE PBS for the Gulf Coast.